It's the 6th of March, which means that we here in Australia have just come into our autumn. And at this time of year, no matter how mild the summer has been, how good the rainfall has been in terms of both quantity and the pattern in which we get it, the reality is that at the start of autumn we tend to have very minimal pasture, certainly on this bit of land anyway. What we do is quite brown. You can see there are a few green pickings here, but that is not uniform throughout the whole place. Mostly it is quite brown, and it is also very short. This grass is not very nutritious for animals at the moment, and so to keep condition on the animals and to keep them sort of in optimal health, I definitely like to supplement feed them at this time of year especially. I should note that we can get drier than this and browner, and indeed we can get to a point where we have no grass cover at all. We just literally have exposed earth, and you can see little bits where that is actually the case on the slope up there. There's probably a bit of erosion happening where topsoil is being washed away. Obviously that's not ideal, but this year we are quite fortunate in that we don't have a lot of really exposed ground, which is problematic for the health of our soil. But still, we need to supplement feed sheep. Now, I've probably said this before, and indeed I probably explained my approach to feeding the sheep here on our 4.2 acres. I'm running a flock of 7 sheep at the moment, none of which are lactating ewes, and they're all at least a year old. I would rather not be running 7. I would actually rather have 4 at this point in time, and probably I do need to either cull a few of the sheep here, which is a whole other issue, or sell them. My preference is to cull because I do want to raise sheep for meat, but again, that's a different video and a different discussion entirely. In terms of feeding the sheep, what I like to do is make sure they feel full, so they feel full in their bellies. And to do that, I use a grass hay. Now, I've spoken about grass hay before. There are periods during the year where the sheep just will not eat grass hay. They have no appetite for it whatsoever. But at this time of year they will eat it if there's not much else available. There's not a lot of nutrition. It is probably cut from, well, not always. It can sometimes be cut from lucerne, so the lucerne stalk, but sometimes it is literally just a grass pasture. As to what grass, I don't know. You can see it does have a bit of green material in there. But for the most part, I use this as a filler. And then I add a supplement to this. I have been adding a maize or a corn, in particular a crushed corn. Sometimes I use basically a hobby farm mix, which has lots of different grains in it, and some pellets as well, and a chaff. And it's all sort of mixed through with a molasses, so it's a sweet treat, and they absolutely go crazy for that. But at this time of year, what I do is try and get a bit more serious and use an actual dedicated supplement feed. So this is a ewe supplement that is designed to bolster the nutritional supplements of ewes with lambs at foot. You can see here it is intended for when the ewes are grazing mature dry pasture or hay, which is precisely what we're doing here. The reason that I would feed this is because it has the added minerals and vitamins that they might need, and you can see those here. Now, I don't give them a lot of these pellets, and indeed they do not find these pellets overly palatable. Sometimes they will not eat them, but I am confident that this feed has been formulated to deliver maximum sort of nutritional benefit at the most sort of cost-effective point that I can here. In addition to this, they always have available to them a salt and mineral lick, which I'm sure I've showed before, so that they can get those trace elements as well. So this is how those sheep pellets look. You can see that they're fairly fibrous. You can see bits of grain, bits of corn in there. They're not especially appetizing for the sheep, I don't reckon. And that's borne out by the fact that they don't love them, certainly relative to other things that I can feed. But as I said, I think nutritionally this is the best thing that I can be giving them when our grass kind of looks like that. Now, I have seen comments from other sheep farmers, including here on YouTube, and I don't know that this is a fair comment, but it seems to be farmers from the States, and so their situation may be completely removed from what we experience here. But I have seen other farmers comment on the fact of rotational grazing and how they can get through the entire year without any supplement feeding, and that would of course be an ideal situation. But I do sometimes see the pasture looking a bit like this, perhaps with a bit more growth on it. It is the case here that this dry grass just is nutritionally bereft of anything good. And so for myself, whilst I don't think the sheep would be, their lives wouldn't be at risk, they probably wouldn't be overtly malnourished, I wouldn't leave my sheep to graze here when the pasture looked like this. I would always supplement feed in these conditions. So to make sure everyone's getting their bit, I just spread it out like this. They'll come down later and find this. So I've given them about a third of that bale of grass hail this afternoon, and they're not much bothered by it, actually. I'm sort of nibbling on it, but they would opt for something else were it available to them. This is the salt lick, the salt and mineral lick that they have up here. Sometimes you'll see them actually gnawing at to get a bit of the lick and actually be able to chew it. So they're all looking good. Weight-wise, they're fine. I've done a video before about how I sort of monitor their condition generally, including for worms. No sign of worms at the moment, but I wouldn't expect to see worms at this time of year. I do wonder a bit if some of their shedding has something to do with their particular state of health, and I expect it's not completely unrelated, but I think it is more a genetic thing, because I can see animals that do always shed versus those that don't, and I don't think that could be explained just by reference to the nutritional status of the animal, because they've got exactly the same feed and resources available to them here. So I don't think that explains a whole lot, but it might explain something. Now, make no bones about it, if the sheep had their way, they would subsist during these drier months on a steady diet of Weet-Bix and breads and pastries, biscuits, cakes and all that
good stuff. They'll eat apples, pears and grapes, and even the odd slice of pizza, well, mostly the crust. And while we keep them happy with most of these things from time to time, no, it obviously doesn't really work as a way to feed sheep during this dry period. So we'll stick to the hay and the supplements, mostly.